I think what's difficult is the fact that we've had a weird week.
Yeah.
Energies have been off.
It's been a very weird week.
Yeah.
It's been a very weird 2 weeks.
It really has. And it's great that I got to be with you during that process.
Oh.
Because if you can hang with people during low points, because it's been a low point for both of us.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what I mean?
Especially today. Today was fucking weird,
It
bro.
was weird today. I was just tired.
Andrew Marshall. That's your name, right?
I have a temple name too.
Can we get that on the podcast?
Shit, that would be
That might be too much.
Yeah.
Do
Fucking
you
have-
still remember your temple name?
Yeah, but I have Joseph Smith calling me in the morning asking me questions.
No, he'll be coming into your room tonight.
I know. With Moroni.
I saw a pillar of light
Exactly
over my head.
And it had a hammer. And the hammer looked real. And I woke up with a bump and missing an eye. Amen.
Wow, you could start a whole church.
I'm ready. And you know, with us, it's only 9% tithing. Saving. You know, times are hard out there.
So the name of the show is...
Do you think
The
I look better with a
Conscious
hat
Man. No, you look good. You look great.
I just don't know if I look too mature.
You don't look... I don't think you look younger with a hat.
But it's USA, isn't it? It's like Utah.
You got to wear your backwards hat.
Look like a European over here who's been like eating all the pies.
At least you got good teeth, though.
It's true. It's true. I'm a well-kept man. I clean, shower, and brush my teeth regularly.
So the first question I usually ask my guests is, what does it mean to you to be a conscious man?
Is that a question now, is it?
Yeah. I'd like you to answer it now.
I think to answer that, I would remove the man bit first.
Okay.
And just try to understand what it is to be conscious. For me, I think it comes down to just being aware or seeking knowledge. To start, really, it's to be aware of things within yourself, beyond yourself, the world around. It involves why we're here, to discover that, and within that, to try and identify if we have a purpose, and where does that motivation to understand why we're here come from? Is it something we're taught, or is it something built within us? And I think that causes a lot of problems in people's lives, actually, from observation, especially young people when they're trying to figure out who they are. They're torn between the world that they want to see, which is developing and they're unsure, and the world receiving them and knowing what to do with that mind, and how the world and their family shapes that mind, and how your conscious state can be shaped by the things we are taught by society, by family, friends, our involvement in school and all this stuff. So I think, although it's not a short answer to your question, it's a heck of a loaded question because there's so much really in it. But to be conscious to me, because of the things I've learned, involves a deep spiritual connection, not just the, as we speak about our day-to-day conscious mind. There is a subconscious mind, and there is a spiritual realm. And I think all of these different types of states, beings, fit into consciousness. You have your own consciousness, you have what we consider collective, the consciousness of everyone around us.
Sure.
So for me, it's evolving that mind and that being from one state to another on an evolutionary scale. How that looks, I think, is everything, and also a long, long answer.
Sure.
We can get into, but
Okay. So, a little bit about yourself. You are from Bristol, England,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, Bristol, England, UK, United Kingdom. I've lived in the US a lot though. The last 10 years I've probably been in the US more than I've been in the UK.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of time in Utah?
Not as much as I'd like.
Okay.
I don't know why, but Utah is this place I always feel called to come back to. I don't know if it's an energy thing. I like the people. The people seem to like me. Entrepreneurial but laid back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Beautiful countryside, beautiful nature. I love to hike. I don't hike as often as I'd like, but
Yeah, sure.
it's a heck of a place, man.
So, you grew up Mormon,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about you going from Mormon to spirituality. You grew up in Mormon in England.
Yeah. The funny thing is the spirituality element is what I consider to be the core that existed from the beginning.
Sure.
I'm just me, but I'm older and I've had different life experiences. Growing up in the church was it was difficult in the sense that we were from a town where very few people were LDS, and in a city, in a world where very few people are Christian. Not that it's not a Christian country in the sense that it has its origins in Christianity. It's just that a lot of people just don't go to church. They're just not practicing.
A lot of Catholics over there.
I wouldn't know because I never really hung out with Catholics. I would say in bigger cities,
Yeah.
you would have, you know.
But that would probably be the dominant religion in England.
No, Church of England or Anglican.
Okay. Church of England is Christian, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there are Christian faiths that have originated from Catholicism.
Yeah.
And then the kings get involved and say, okay, I want to divorce my wife.
Yeah. So let's start the Church of England.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, as it always goes with religion.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing about religion. I see it as an excellent tool to help the individual learn basic connection and truths to a higher being, a God, of whatever form you feel called to resonate with that form.
Sure.
Right? In most Christian faiths, it's a father figure. And these Christian faiths, these all religions really, if you have no real understanding of yourself or a higher, being that loves you and desires the best for you, then I think it's a great tool to access. And I understand why people raise their families in religions. As for the LDS Church, I didn't see it as anything other than a Christian faith. Everything was centered around Jesus Christ. Yeah. Everything. My whole life, it was around trying to be like Jesus.
Is a bit of a misconception with the Mormons. A lot of people don't even think that they're Christian.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, when we talk about consciousness, which is probably a really good segue, there is a thing called Christ consciousness, right? And I think a lot of people get very much caught up in religion with letter of law instead of spirit of law. And I think this will come full circle as I start to talk a little bit about, your question about being raised LDS, Christian, Mormon, becoming spiritual. The soul of everything is spirituality. We are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. Right? We are here to evolve in some form, whether that is to become a better version of ourselves, leave the place better than we found it, pass on to the next generation lessons of value, things that we didn't have figured out, that we figured out, we suffered to figure out, and now we hopefully pass that knowledge on. Yeah. And a big part of consciousness to me is where knowledge becomes wisdom. And that cannot be given to you. knowledge is everywhere, but wisdom is not so common to find. And the real difference to me with knowledge and wisdom is once you have applied knowledge, have you become wiser? So it's the application of knowledge. So a segue again to religion, being raised in any religion, if the outcome is you are leaving the world in a better place and treating others good, and in so doing, advancing yourself, leaving the world a better place, that religion's good.
Yeah.
But it's all about you, the person within the religion, because again, after a certain point, I have seen that religion can prevent spiritual evolution by having a set of rules and people that are over the top of you, that are kind of between you and God, that are communicators or your spiritual leaders that tell you how things are and shouldn't be.
Right.
And I think that can block.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, that's kind of the only way that religion or a set of beliefs can exist. Because what I always say with religion is a stepping stone, right? A religion is a stepping stone that is used to get you further along the path to truth. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you have to move past that stepping stone because any set of beliefs has to exist within a box for our human minds to understand it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just how our minds comprehend, because our minds can't comprehend infinity, which ultimate truth is infinite, right? And so that's why I always say that religion is a stepping stone, especially like you can see it even in the individual's life. And I think that's kind of what you're saying essentially, right? Is like for me, Mormonism gave me a route to begin to build a relationship with Christ consciousness through the person Jesus Christ, right? But eventually I got to the point where my consciousness was bumping up against these walls that I saw were keeping me from more truth, right? And I think that's the interesting thing about the Mormon religion is they claim to have the whole truth, which isn't possible, right? Truth is infinite. Truth can never be reached. Yeah. And so in and of itself, a religion has to exist within a box and therefore has to limit your mind from infinite truth.
Yeah. I agree. And if they do claim to have the full truth and nothing but the truth, then it is only within the realm of what they're offering to you that can be true. Yeah. Because we're on our own individual journey. And again, the purpose is to evolve our spiritual beings. And you have to ask yourself, what is more important? Is it the path that I'm on to be true to the intuition within and know the difference between the higher self and my fear-based thinking? Which voice will win? And what are those voices and where do those come from? Wayne Dyer is noted for saying a great quote, and he says, prayer is when we talk to God, but our intuition is God talking to us. Yeah. In a way, that's pretty profound, because we are always trying to understand how God or some beings that we seek to lean into, how they talk to us. But if we are blocked by a belief system or a conditioning or a fear-based mindset or whatever, are we really clear on what voices are coming in? And as I've gone through life, and I think this is where I decided that, going to a regular body of church or religion became a little bit closed for my potential growth, is because my intuition told me that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a falling out with its teachings. Everything for me, my whole path has been, as I'm learning, this evolution of my inner self. For what purpose, I'm still trying to identify. Yeah. I can honestly tell you that I've learned throughout the years where my talents and my gifts are. Some people might call them your skills or your experience. and I've learned to apply them to my craft. And by evolving and learning hard lessons and becoming wiser through the application of knowledge, sometimes bad knowledge, sometimes inexperience, I feel that not only in self-love and acceptance for myself and being okay with the path of discovery that I'm on, which is a huge win. It's being at peace with yourself, knowing that you don't have it all figured out, but you're progressing and you're learning yourself and you're learning what you like and you're learning what to let go of, what behaviors don't suit you. You know, whatever that is, the evolution of oneself can only really come if we're trying to master self through really understanding what voices are inside our head. And sometimes those voices can lead us to a state of despair. And sometimes those voices can lead us towards great things. And we have to collect through experience the knowledge of which is which.
Yeah, discernment.
And then use that. And don't let the years of hurt or maybe poor choices or the process to getting there, don't let the preparation defeat you before you get into battle. And we were chatting by your pool the other day. You were very kind to allow me to come by. And I was saying that this great quote, because you're obviously into the Spartan, mentality and what that represents. But there's a great quote. I don't know if it's Marcus Aurelius or who, but it may even be Joe Rogan. To be fair, I don't know who came up with this quote, but it suits both those personalities, right? The more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in battle. And I think a lot of men, what does it look like to be a conscious man? You said how we started, to bring the man back into consciousness. I feel like the world needs strong men that are strong in traditional ways. They are able to protect and defend in reality, but they are also evolved spiritually and able to understand emotion, be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's actually incredible strength. And to evolve our consciousness as a man by allowing in the balance between a feminine energy and a male without seeing it as weakness.
Sure.
And a lot of those are great qualities, but it's also, they can only come from a place of self-love and self-acceptance, because otherwise you will always be living in the shadow of someone else's expectation of you. And the expectation of the world, especially now, is that men are somehow a dirty thing that the world doesn't need. And I think this is a terrible condition to allow to exist, because most men that I know, the majority of men that I associate with, are the type of men that spend their whole lives preparing to be a husband or a father or a provider or a protector. All of them, most. Some are weaker than others in their journey, or less further along, or they like their vices more than their path.
Sure. Because
I think we're all on a path at different levels. But to the most part, they're good men. And I have a theory as well about romance, even though it's a segue. Being on the receiving end of romance does not make you romantic. It's the person coming up with the romantic ideas, which is out of their normal realm. Right? I don't need a blanket with wine under the stars with poetry. Just sitting on the sofa with someone I care about's enough.
Yeah.
And a pizza or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes the other is nice too, but it's out of our realm. But we do it. We would protect. A mother would protect her kids, but we would protect both.
Sure.
You know, there's a bear. Whose job is it to talk to the bear? Mr. Bear, come on now. We've had this chat. Don't eat my arm, you know?
Yeah.
But it's such a beautiful question, and I wish I had better words, but really, when you talk about Christ consciousness, in essence, he is a great example of a person that we should try to become. There's a lot of readings about this person, this God being, this deity that we can learn from. But it's not learning about Christ that makes us Christ-like. It is not the knowledge of a prophet or a God that makes us like them. It is simply the evolution of our consciousness in becoming like them. So again, religion to me is great, but without the spiritual element, which is the application of those truths, religion serves you no good. Yeah. Because how do you feed your family with just a menu? You have to get in the kitchen. You have to grow those fruits and those vegetables. You have to raise that animal. You have to put the work in. And that's where everything comes back to being a spiritual being. So, spirit of the law over letter of the law. The letter of the law is a guide until it becomes thing that controls you.
Yeah.
Your cage.
Yeah.
What can be your runway can also be your cage. But that applies to everything in life. Mm-hmm. We have to be discerning enough to pick our path. Yeah. So yeah, Christ consciousness, great aim. But how do we take that knowledge and make it wisdom?
If you were to define Christ consciousness, what is that?
Okay, I have a great... Why was I ready for that? I was reading something earlier. And I think we always break things down in our minds to something that applies to us, right? Mm-hmm. So a long time ago, within the last 10, 15 years, maybe less, I came across this book that someone told me about, and it spoke about the power versus force. Mm. Have you heard of it?
Power versus force.
Yeah. So I'm a visual person. Within that book, there was a chart, and it was a vibrational frequency chart, right? And it basically broke down a emotion or a state of being with a frequency, with an arrow going up or down, talking about high vibrational emotions and states and low vibrational emotions and states. So without, digging into it, we can all understand that there are some joy, love, empathy, authenticity, all these type of emotions, states are high vibrational. And then the ones that are low vibrational, fear, shame, guilt, anxiety, all those, right? One leads to enlightenment, the untapping of another level, I believe. And some keep us blind or lost or leading towards self-destruction or despair. And sometimes we are in a state where we just can't help but feel a certain way. And it's always important to remember that we are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts. We are having thoughts, but they don't have to be us.
We are the observer of them.
We're just a channel of an observer.
Yeah.
Great. TV, turn on the channel. I am watching someone, rob a bank on the television, but I'm not robbing the bank. Mm-hmm. But with emotions, with states of being, sometimes we feel that we are that. And I think we can develop strength by making separation in front of us. And as a visual person, I would talk myself through states of being. I would be like, okay, I feel angry right now, but I'm not an angry person. So why do I feel angry? We use this word trigger. What's triggered this emotional state? And I would sit observing this emotion as a separate person to myself.
Yeah.
I would not include myself with the crime. I would just be observing it.
Yeah.
Right? So if I was in a state of joy, but I wanted to reach a higher vibration, I would just look up the chart and I'd be like, okay, if I was in a state of love, what does love look like? So I started to analyze love. Questions like love. What is love? I'm a deep thinker, I think. So I would be like, well, what is it? What is my association with love? And I'd go through family members. I'd look at what love looks like. I'd compare my father's love to my mother's love. I would look at how I've loved in relationships, where I've lacked authenticity in certain relationships, and where I've given too much. And I would break it down. And then I would just daily try to put myself in states where, regardless of how I felt, I would try and put myself in a state through gratitude, positive thinking, prayer, whatever it is. Being in nature is a good one for me. Grounding, these kind of practices. And then I would try and center my heart and my thinking upon a state that I wanted to be in. And over time, I found that I was more high vibrational day to day and more ethically aligned with who I really wanted to be. And when I was facing situations, whether it's, being authentic or being honest or whatever it is, I would be aware in that situation that this is a choice that I got to make.
Yeah.
And there's a consequence and a vibration attached to that choice. So it made things easier.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, when you're talking about that, it makes me think about kind of my perspective on the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? They call it the gospel, right? Which means the good news, right? And to me, as I've learned over time and I've really looked at my relationship with Christ and Christ consciousness, I believe that the good news, the gospel, is that everything is for you, right? And so it's being in that higher vibrational state of realizing that everything is love, right? It's like you were saying earlier, everything is a perspective.
Yeah.
So you get to choose how you see everything that comes into your reality.
Yeah.
And the good news of the gospel is that you have the ability to make the choice to see that everything comes from love and that everything in the universe is for you.
And if you can get to a place where you understand that, you are truly mastering life. You are almost in a state of Zen. Because
Christ consciousness.
Sure, but there are levels to Christ consciousness. It's so broad, it's so welcoming that there is.
But that's the essence of it, right? Is that it's all built on a canvas of love, that everything stems from being for you.
Sure.
And if you can understand that, then you have at some level reached Christ consciousness.
Yeah, and I feel that if you get to that state, you realize that there are layers and layers to this onion once you're in there, because it is a forever evolving thing. And there will be new things that come up in your life to challenge your beliefs and things that you have yet to gain wisdom over, and that remind you of things that you lack. For example, in the world that you're describing, it would lead me to think that every person that we see as an enemy is potentially a reflection of our own selves within this strange matrix game of life. And the feelings or the negativity or the challenge or the opposition that they reflect to us is nothing more than a mirror of how we feel about ourselves. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
If you can get to a state where you have that as your belief system, it's very empowering, because it's much like having the belief system that every enemy that's ever come your way, if you want to call them an enemy, was someone that in the life before, or when we sat down and we drew up the contract of karma of life, you'll be like, yeah, dude, in this life, we're going to be buddies, but in the next life, I'm going to fuck you over, right? But because I love you, I'm doing this because it's going to teach you something.
Because it's for your experience.
It's going to open your eyes. The trade-off is going to be valuable. We're going to pay off some karmic debt in the universe of things. And if you can have that mindset, then no one is an enemy. Everyone is a teacher.
Yeah.
And the trade-off for the pain and the suffering is your eyes have become open. And then you are now using your pain as a power. I'm a big believer, I heard this from a friend a long time ago, your mess is your message. Well, that only comes from the power of perspective. If you're going to allow your pain and your suffering to weigh you down, it beats you. And the people that did that to you that no longer matter or think about you live rent-free in your heart, live rent-free in your mind, and they also have power over you, the one thing you didn't want them to have in the first place. We are giving them that power by not healing, by not letting go, by not healing because we haven't got the right perspective on what happened. So with a perspective shift, as we said earlier, our reality shifts. If our reality shifts, then what is the reality we are co-creating? And again, that taps into Christ consciousness because we learn that we are co-creators with God in this world of reality where we are matched and met by the law of our vibrational frequency. They call it the law of resonance. The world mirrors back to us and reflects back to us that which we put out. That's why you can have evil people that are rich, but growing up in religion, it's like, our blessings are linked to being obedient. Is that why we're poor, Daddy? Well, if you're obedient, we'll be blessed by God. In what way? We can have all those toys you want. This isn't an analogy. It's not verbatim for what happened in life. But how misleading is that perspective? It makes no sense. No. Bad people can be rich because the sweat of their own brow, they worked out a system, and the universe is no respecter of people. That's why the yin and yang of the universe and light and dark that must exist, we get to just choose which energy we want to tap into. All is power, but what power do you feel in this lifetime you are called to join? And own it and step behind it and know that you have legions of invisible beings, be them gods, angels, spirit guides, guardian angels, ancestors, that are here to guide you on that path. We really need to wake the fuck up. That's my call to myself and others. And you have started this for that reason, because there is power within all people, but your message is to men right now. Your wife's message is to women, and there will come a time where you guys together will have a message for couples and that. But we need to awaken. We have been sleeping long enough. God requires of us, I believe, that we just use our gifts to help humanity, and that is it. But if we do not do that, the inner tweak will torment us and would be passed down to generations. We are here to break the cycles.
Yeah.
If you feel different, it's because you are. Use it. Tap in.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
The world needs strength, male and female. But how more powerful when male and female can come together from an evolved, healed, Christ-like perspective. I think a lot of us now are calling in our divine counterparts. A lot of us are waking up to the fact that we have work to do. And I don't want to sound all like woo-woo, but everything is spirit. Everything is divinity. Yeah. We just have been told for a long time that we're nothing more than mere monkeys. And if you're told something long enough, you'll start to believe it. Nurture.
Yeah. I like, speaking of like awakening, it's like a big part of a big part of awakening to me is, and really awakening to the good news, right? That I was speaking about, the awakening to the fact that everything is for you. Everything can come from love if you choose to see it that way, right? And awakening to the fact that there is a spiritual realm, right? And if you can begin to build a relationship with the fact that we are spiritual beings, that there is something beyond what we can see, it can help you shift your perspective here in this life.
Yeah.
For example, like what you were talking about, you may see someone here as your enemy, right? And that may cause you a lot of suffering to have an enemy where you have some sort of a quarrel with or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But if you can see things on more of a spiritual level and say, well, maybe before we came here, we were part of the same team, and they agreed to do this for me to help me awaken to whatever it is that they're meant to show me.
Yeah.
And then I can then see it as, thank you. This is for me. This is not against me.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a beautiful place to be, but we have to be careful with that too, because again, where does it end, right? It's like, okay, this guy is not my enemy, but he's trying to break into my house and kill my family. So I'm going to let him do that because
it's for
it's
me.
love and it's for me, right? I think the way that we can master, I think we can have what you're discussing is almost like a blanket that we can grow from, but we need to have structure.
Canvas is what I said,
Yeah. We need to have structure that makes sense to us, because a lot of people want to know the reason why they're doing something too.
Yeah.
And you also need to have, in the process of evolution, master boundaries. Some people are just not supposed to be in your world.
Yeah, for sure.
And the goal is, once you've learned your lesson, don't prolong the connection. And in that, you can love and release.
Right.
The calling someone an enemy really just means that you've invested energy into that longer than you need to. The true mastery is learning when to cut cords and when to call your energy back. And if people can master that, they'll be a lot more free. We create energy cords through interaction, through sexual connection. And a lot of people, when they have put those energy or those sexual connections out, they haven't learned how to call their energy back. If you just sit for a moment and just think, not you, but anyone listening, if I sit quietly, where are my thoughts about the people in my life? There'd be a cloud of people you care for. There'd be a cloud of people that you have responsibility over, be it work, family, whatever. And then there'd be a cloud of people that have tormented you, frustrated you, caused you pain, that you love, you have emotion for, but they're not positive connections.
Sure.
And you may say, well, the victory is I've let go of them. But they still have place energetically in your life. So we have to learn how to cut those connections and those cords and call your energy back to yourself. And you can only really do that once you have the blanket conversation with yourself about, am I at peace with really what's happened? Have I really understood what it was for me? Am I able to let go of something, whether it's for me in the future or not, now, to call my energy back, to live my life and allow the universe to give to me what's meant for me when it's meant for me? It's a power struggle and it's endless. But I think if we get our pillars, our boundaries in place, life can become very simple. What we're talking about right now to the average listener is very complex.
Sure.
And I think it's going to lose a lot of people because it's very advanced stuff, but it's also not detailed. It's not like, here are the 10 steps. But, you know, when you talk about perspective, if I may, I think there's so much power in that, and it should be implemented in the way we view everything. I think you've mentioned that too, but there's a great story that I can share quickly, and it's from a book. I don't remember the source. Two sons going to a funeral. The father was a famous criminal. The news come to each son after the funeral and ask them, hey, you're a good leader in your community, you philanthropist, you give back, what made you do this? What made you live this life? And his response was, well, look at my father. What choice did I have? He went to the other son, been in and out of prison, failed criminal, famous enough because of his association to his father, asked the same question. Well, why did you pick this life? Well, look at my father. What choice did I have? Both had the same father. Both picked different paths. Both had the same answer. Perspective was the only difference. And I think if we can master these ins and outs of life whilst taking on all the other responsibilities that we have day to day, figuring out how to provide, figuring out how to bring the right people around us, figuring out how to live in a strange world, learning how to get fit and healthy and be a protector, a provider, someone we like and respect, someone who keeps promises to their own selves, people that, all the things. It's a never-ending thing. So don't do it unless that's who you are. But if it's who you are, do it. And if you need help, surround yourself with other people that are trying to do it too. Community is very important today. I'm a big believer when it comes to men, and I think it's the same for women, but we're speaking from a male perspective. Who you choose to let into your life from a relationship standpoint, wife, let's speak in those terms, will either help you become your greatest potential or prevent you. There's very little middle ground. If they're in your ear saying, you are great, I've got your back, a man is invincible, but don't betray her.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Good women that will support you deserve equal give and take.
Sure.
It's also their responsibility to learn how to identify a good man with the characters that really are good for them versus someone who's sexy on the back of a Harley or whatever they're into.
Yeah.
This red flag is fun, but this would be good for me. So we all have to take personal responsibility. But if she is insecure, wounded, needing of your time, fearful of you taking risks, non-supportive, unless you are strong enough to walk away from that which does not serve you, you will shrink to fit the space of her heart size. And I've seen so many great men not reach a level that I can see in them.
Sure.
And in the same, women have been held back from greatness too by being with partners that don't see their light and don't know how to cultivate them. But again, I just think that when we are able to find that teammate and open up and build together, it's a prize that is so rare and you must protect it. It's very special.
Yeah, I agree.
We're all in search of that, I think.
So obviously, you and I vibe because you're pretty tapped in, right? And it's kind of showing here on the podcast, which I'm on a
spectrum.
I like to see. Was there a point in your life when you felt like you had some sort of an awakening that changed everything? Or has it just been kind of like a...
Okay, to be truly honest and vulnerable, which is awkward for me, because if I was talking to you alone, I would have no issue being vulnerable and open to you because I trust you with my precious knowledge, my path, my story.
Sure.
Most of the world out there know nothing about me. I've done a few things in business, but they know very little about me, right? And I'm not quite sure why, but it's just, I've done a good job of hiding, perhaps. And maybe in time, there will be other conversations that open up about, that. But your question was, why do I feel or speak, or where did I get a spirit, or like, how did I come about to have this concept of knowledge? Okay. I think it's always been within me. I've always felt a little different. If I can be honest, I've always felt special as a kid.
Sure.
I always thought I was the shit, like great, even if I was crap at something. I just knew that, whatever, like, be it sport or coloring in, but I can also, because I've done a lot of like going back to my childhood stuff, and I've looked at periods of my time where my confidence was knocked. Did a lot of time looking at this kind of stuff in order to rebuild myself. And I would say the thing that most people don't understand about me, because I've never shared it, is I have also felt lost and not understood my whole life. And I've had to live with that. And I couldn't really communicate that until I became a man. And then once I could communicate it, I struggled to find people that could even understand what I was talking about. But I don't know if that's separate to being able to communicate about spiritual subjects. I'm a big believer that we are born with some inbuilt deeper purpose or meaning that some people don't fulfill and others never give up until they find it. And I'm the latter. I am someone that doesn't want to live a superficial life. I don't really know how to. Doesn't mean I don't like nice things, but superficial isn't nice things.
Sure.
Right? Luxury isn't wealth, cars, and toys. Luxury is it's a character. It's a way of living with being a certain type of person.
Yeah.
To me. And I've been around the luxury space quite a bit, and I've been around a lot of wealth, and I've learned that the true wealth that I like is a person's character. It's who they are as a soul. It's how they live. It's how they choose to interact with others. How, what are your driving forces for life? And in a state of acceptance, everything's cool with me, buddy. Right? You want to be a sexy guy in a sexy car, living a sexy life. Sexy, bro. Go. Right? And I get it. Right? There's a part of me that would love to be an 80s rock star, dude. I was raised around that music, the big hair and the crazy, you know what I mean?
All the drugs.
Well, more just the passion for the music. I mean, it's definitely an era where, like, it was feel-good music.
Yeah.
I vibe with it, There's definitely a side to me that feels like we are here to create, we're here to play, we're here to be in our inner child. And I've always been able to tap into my inner child. I've never really grown up.
Yeah.
I've learned how to behave and how to be mature in environments and settings from both an emotional maturity and a mature, approach to things. But I will always be a fun playing creator my whole life. And I've just accepted that self-acceptance is really a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
The spiritual element, I don't know. I think I can't really say. I can know how it all started. It started around the LDS faith.
Sure.
Prayer, scripture study, families can be together forever, all good stuff. It was quite an intense upbringing around it, though. It wasn't fun and playful.
Like, it was pretty strict, letter of the law.
Intense,
okay.
Right? Like, not as extreme as some people's stories, but pretty, I'd say in our ward, we were probably one of the top most intense LDS families. Shoulder to the wheel, second comings come in, behave, obedience. I just want to have fun, bro. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, I've just learned to allow my intuition to lead me. And there's a lot of different versions of awakening. There is a spiritual awakening to a sense of self and, you know, the things that the third eye and the spirit realm can be revealed to you. And, you know, I've been able to access that through a lot of different things: meditation, prayer, being in nature, psychedelics, you know. I've been in Bali, Tulum. I've lived in places like that for long periods of time. And I felt called to be in these places that were, you know, spiritual vortexes of sorts, where a certain type of person goes to awaken, to tap into their modalities. I've been surrounded by all these different practices, and you learn as you go that there are certain gifts that we all have. And over time, you learn to develop or find and identify which ones you have.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's always been there. It's just, it's great that it's something that never stops evolving. In equal measure, it's a pain in the ass, let's be honest.
Yeah.
If we're talking red pill, blue pill, I'd swallow both. I can just jump back and forth. You know what I mean?
It would be nice to be able to go back to sleep for a time, take a rest.
No, the truth is I would never want to go back. I'm so focused on trying to understand what the solution is.
I feel the same way, but in a lot of ways, ignorance is bliss. Right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to.
I'll always take the red pill.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like given the choice, I will take the red pill. But in a sense, there is a lot of truth to the saying that ignorance is bliss, right? Because you're not awake to a certain level of suffering, but you're also not awake to a certain level of depth on the opposite end of that.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't get to experience joy on such a deep level unless you've awakened to true suffering and pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's use this as an analogy about ignorance. If the fair was coming into town and that's the talk of the town and it's the place that people go party and play, right? And you didn't know it was on, would it hurt you to not know? But would you want to know if it was on, even if you had to figure out how to get there yourself? The reality is the fear of FOMO for me, the fear of missing out on either a spaceship coming with my name on it, Jesus turning up saying, yeah, you're one of mine. I'm like, sweet, I always thought so. Fucking get in, right? Or whatever it is. Maybe me evolving to a level where I'm just like, I've helped the world. That's enough. I can die at, you know. I don't want to live beneath.
Sure.
There is something that is within certain people. Like, look at your favorite sports stars or your heroes. Doesn't matter who they are. It's someone, right? Like, I really like Shaquille O'Neal.
Sure.
Like, I know Jordan's the guy, but Shaquille, the more I watch this guy, the more I admire him, the more I like this guy, character, the way, anyway. You know, there's something in these people that they're it doesn't matter who they are. Like, I really like Dana White. I like his style. I told you that the other day. I love his style of business. If I could be in the shadow of any CEO, I don't give a fuck whether, he's just real. He's raw, right? Like this style. There's certain people that you just look at and you admire, and the characteristics of these people that you admire are people that just went all in. They would never choose ignorance.
Right.
Because they're strong.
Yeah.
And as much as ignorance sounds sexy, it sounds like a vacation, it sounds like an escape, it's not for us.
Right. It would be suffering because it's to be in a cage.
Because at what point do you get told by the person or the people or the God or your higher self, hey man, you fucked up, you missed out. Yeah. I don't want to miss out on any of my blessings. I feel like I've spent my whole life being prepared, and I want to step into my reward phase, which is I've been in training like yourself. I don't want to bleed in battle, but I don't want to miss out on the battle.
Yeah.
You know, a battle horse, when the drums will always face the direction of battle. It's in them. And it sounds wordy, but it's who you are. And if it's who you are, own it. And if it's not who you are, get out of the fucking way.
I like that.
Fuck the blue pill. Headbutt the guy holding the pills. Take his jacket, and put him over your shoulder and make him your friend.
Get the bottle of red pills.
Give me them pills.
So we were talking about the other day,
Too far down the rabbit hole.
all the chaos that's been going on in the world,
Yeah.
right? We're seeing a lot right now. Coming up to the elections, there's hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, talk of civil war, war abroad, a lot of chaos right now, right? Where do you see the world going?
Mate, that is not an easy question because there are so many lanes of possibility,
Sure.
and there's also layers to that question. Depends on
So where are you putting your energy into the world going?
okay, I allow the world to do what the world will do because I do not have the strength to carry it on my shoulders. So first of all, as I release any emotion that feeds the force that is opposite to the force I'm in. So I do not put fear, anger, frustration. I try not to.
Sure.
It's hard sometimes, right? Because there are things that are happening that should be very simple to fix. Why are they not being fixed? And why are some people still not awake to understanding that this isn't the way it should be?
Yeah.
Follow the path and it will lead you to the answer. So many people are just so caught in cognitive dissonance. Stockholm syndrome. They are in love with their captor because the captor has whispered enough nonsense in their ear to let them know that the world they exist in is the world that it has to be, and it's for the best for everyone.
Right.
They don't understand that the thing they are holding in their hand is decaying and crumbling within their hands, and it's only a matter of time that it's all crumbled away. And I think the biggest frustration for people like yourself and I and others that are, let's say, awoken, because it doesn't go into detail, but it goes into enough,
Yeah.
is how do we get everyone else on board without using nonsense segregation tools like who you vote for, bro? It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
There's a layer deeper than that.
Unity versus duality, really.
If you can learn to master that in the process of gaining wisdom and on a path of Christ consciousness, then you really are a wizard that I want to hang out with. Because, say what you said again. Do you remember?
Unity versus duality.
Right. The answer in everything is the power of unity. So what in the world is presenting itself as an opposite to unity? Take a moment. Is there unity in religion or religions? Or is there unity in your current ward or chapel? Is there unity in your synagogue? Is there unity in your family? Is there unity within yourself? How are you and your wife getting along? What's causing that problem? What football team do you support? Fuck you, bro. I'm with the other guys.
Yeah.
That's a bit of healthy fun, but it's also potentially not, right? What flag you flying? Why is your skin this color? If you're looking to be a victim, you will find it. If you're looking to solve problems, you may find it. All I know is finding ways in which people can be united is probably the biggest strategy solution for the condition of the world. But people need to rally behind an idea. They need to rally behind strength, leadership. They need to rally behind a concept that they can get their head around. So I think a lot of us are being called to use our gifts of thought, our message, whatever it is, our mess, to give to the world. And I think a lot of us are very afraid to do that. But I think the greatest message that we could give to others is the fear you had, we once had. So do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because the torment in you is not worth it. The outcome is way better than the fear of doing it. And there's actually nothing to fear, because anyone whose opinion that matters will be supportive. And if it's not, it's just usually a mirror of how you feel about yourself. So get over it. And that's really the point I'm making. Whoever you rally behind, could be a Jordan Peterson. He's kind of new in the sense that he's popped up the last couple of years. A lot of people are getting behind his belief systems. It could be someone else, you know. Could be Joe Rogan. Could be a grandmother. The point is, rally behind an idea or a leader is natural to us. We just need to find an ability to see through the opponents on both sides, which are in place for division purposes. And unity, if we can figure that out, is the most scary thing to any opposing force that wants the opposite, that they would do everything to distort reality, to convince you that there is no possibility of this. Know what I'm saying?
So that's the direction the world is meant to go, or the direction that you hope the world goes.
Well, I want to speak in terms as though the world will take the shape it's supposed to. Because in the beginning you said everything that happens, you didn't use these words, but in substance you did, is all out of love and meant for us. Don't put fear in front of you. Whatever happens, be prepared. The less you bleed in battle is because of the more you sweat in practice. Be prepared for all outcomes, but don't put fear into the mix. The emotion doesn't help the outcome.
Yeah.
Living in fear, hunkering down, is not living. They win. When someone has control over your life, they win. Remember the analogy of the abusive partner?
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to maintain a sense of peace in the storm. What happens to the world will come down to our ability as communities to unite and serve one another, because there is certain lines where there is injustice that has to be stood up against.
Yeah.
When the rights of the people are controlled to a level where it makes no logical sense, then someone has to say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I don't really trust the system as it exists to represent the people. And the people have relied on the system too much to represent them that they don't really know what the alternative is. That's scary. I mean, how many people know their neighbors, and how many of their neighbors are people that they can rely on, that when, if need, you have each other's back.
Yeah.
How many people have flowers growing in their garden but don't have fruits and vegetables? How many people have toys they can't afford but not essentials that they may need? How many people have learnt simple things that saving doesn't get you rich and cannot be inflation, but only being smart with your money and investing can? So where do you get your knowledge about investing? What communities are feeding you value? What you're doing with your group is feeding people support, strength, and knowledge. That's what I like about it. It's bringing people unified. It has its brand and its style and its concept, which I think people get behind. But the core of it is unity and empowerment. And I think that this is what makes the world become what it's supposed to be, not what it could become.
Sure.
If we're not careful. I try to speak in non-specifics.
Right.
Because I want to get that loan from BlackRock. So,
Well, you and I have known each other for 3 years now, right?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Time flies. It's within that.
Yeah, we met about 3 years ago, and obviously you were back in England, and but we always stayed in touch. I think the first time we met each other, we kind of recognized each other. We like weird shit. We were talking about aliens and whatever else.
Yeah.
And we've always kind of stayed in contact. And it's interesting because it's been like very clear. You felt like you were supposed to come to Utah, but it's been kind of cool, and it's something I've known, but it's also just been very clear with you here. It's like people that are on that same resonance. It's almost like there's no control. We just come together.
Yeah.
And so what I see, what I hope, I guess I would say, is that this world is doing the work behind the scenes to take us to a better, more sustainable, more connected, more loving place.
Yeah.
That's what I choose to put my energy into.
Yeah.
And my thoughts is that Mother Earth, who, I believe is a consciousness, is an actual being that is aware, knows what she's doing. She's taking us through this process.
Well, we may be evolving with her if Earth is...
Well, we are her, in a sense, right?
Well, sure. I mean, in as much as we are all stardust, right? We are all made of the same atoms. How we are interlinked spiritually is still the unknown. Yeah. But it leans towards a belief system that I have that all of consciousness is of God, the source creator, of which we are also. How that breaks down into our earthly experience, I don't really know.
Sure.
Right? But I think I agree with you. I think the earth and us will take the form and the shape that we have evolved to through doing the work and becoming the version of us that we feel intuitively led to be. And only by living that truth do we become valuable to the whole plan. Right? And I believe that there is a gathering of, some people call it like soul family, some call it your tribe, but there's a big pulling of people together to uplift and support each other on their path and maybe build things together and create. But it will only happen if you heed the call, and the call is often a very small whisper.
Yeah. Or it's the scary thing.
It's usually always the scary thing.
Yeah.
Because it's only by doing the scary thing do we master the scary thing and realize that that scary thing was not scary after all. Most things that we're afraid of, when we look back after time, we can laugh about it. People, like, how are you able to laugh? Oh, because I've gained perspective over what it was.
Yeah.
It's just the time I was scared shitless.
Right.
But now it's like, I can do that every day. It's like, true strength. It comes through trial and error, like, look at a tree. A tree grows in both directions, but it's the roots that are strongest. The roots have to grow in darkness and through difficulty. But it's because of the strong roots that the tree can withstand the storm and it creates the best fruit. That I made up about the fruit. I don't know if it does. It just sounds cool, right?
Sure.
But some people only see the fruit. They don't understand the journey that the tree had to go through.
Yeah.
But we have to find beauty in the preparation. You know, it's like the more your legs get kicked, the stronger they get, as long as they don't break. How strong do you want your legs to be? Some people don't want you touching them. They're happy to be weak. I think I fit into that category more, but I'm trying to become the other one.
Yeah. Sure.
Right? Because we understand the value of going through hard things.
Yeah.
We wish it was easy, natural, you know. And some things are natural to us. And those are the things we shouldn't hide from the world. The things that come easy, that are naturally.
Sure.
You know, it could be a gift of connecting with people, gift of understanding, empathy, speech, leadership, whatever they are, you know, please bring them to life. And if anyone is in the beginning stages of bringing it to life, stay out of their way or support them.
Yeah.
Because you should not be a barrier to someone living out their purpose.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah. Well, yeah, I like that, man. And, you know, I don't think we've ever had a surface level conversation, you and I. And I
We needed an environment
appreciate, I really appreciate that about you. And that's why I think why we connected from the very beginning. And so I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll do this more often. You know, hopefully we can get in Utah here sometime soon, or maybe you're going to stay. Maybe you're going to find out what it is that you're meant to do here. And but I appreciate you coming on, dude, because it's always good conversations with you.
Yeah. Can
you tell people where they can find you if they want to reach out, they have questions?
Yeah. I'm only really using one source of social media at the moment. It's Instagram, just because I don't really have a purpose for social at the moment. But yeah, you can find me there if you want. Andrew S. Marshall. That's kind of the handle.
Okay.
They can also reach out to you.
Yep, you can always reach out to me. You'll be tagged in some of the clips and whatnot, but if they're watching it on YouTube, that may be a little bit harder. But go to my Instagram, reach out to me. You'll see Andrew on there.
Yeah, and I you know, you do speak about like doing this more. I have turned down opportunities to be on podcasts because I didn't really feel like it's a ridiculous thing. Everyone has a story to share, and it connects with a person. You know, we didn't really share stories.
Sure.
We mostly just talked about ideas and concepts. But I think I may start doing a little bit more of this and supporting other friends I have.
Yeah.
You know, we've spoke about that.
Well, we're going to have a conversation once we get off the air here because you need to be on podcasts, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Yes, I've fully seen your gift come out. And I know you had it in normal conversations, but you've fully turned on here. So.
Well, my goal is to turn people on.
Well, you didn't do that here. Okay,
No.
Maybe a little.
What about the gimp over in the corner? He's been pretty quiet.
Well, fuck yeah, bro. I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, if you want to go find Andrew, go to his Instagram. I'm actually going to push him after this to start branding himself a little bit more because of all the fucking wisdom he holds in his mind. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing it with us a little bit.
Dude, look, I just appreciate you, man. Regardless of the podcasts and all these things, for me, I'm only looking for authentic connections with people that see with their spiritual eyes, and also, you know, multi-billionaire females that are bored and are looking for a bearded baby to hang out with. Those are my two searches right now.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, bro.
Thanks, man. And hope you guys enjoyed that one. A lot of fucking knowledge shared, a lot of deep shit. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.